We've all watched a lot of children's television programs over the years, but have you ever heard of the PBS Kids original Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood? Well, if you grew up with Mr. Rogers, certainly you've heard of the offshoot. If you didn't grow up on the child block of the public broadcasting service in the early to late 2010s, or what I said about Mr. Rogers doesn't apply to you, or you just don't have an interest in childhood television, well, likely chances are you don't know about Daniel Tiger. So let me do you a favor. Here's a quick rundown to get you caught up. Based on the classic Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, Daniel is a preschool aimed cartoon that promotes the same themes of diversity, friendship, and family of all different races, gender, and species throughout each episode. Things we can all get behind. Well, safe to say this episode I discovered lacked pretty much all of those wonderful qualities and windswept into a catastrophe of sorts not suitable for any child audience. You see, I took a trip over to a nearby Barnes and Noble to grab a couple of books for my little sister who had a keen interest in children's entertainment. Go figure. I walked in, initially expecting a quick in and out, before noticing a banner for PBS Kids above the front door. An in store sponsorship? Huh. Out of nowhere, two opposite sex adults dressed in full tiger makeup walked up to me and handed me a promotional DVD copy for the show Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood. Well, it might seem strange to you, but now it all made sense to me. I accepted this offer before digging through my wallet in exchange before the both of them signaled for me to just keep it for free. A free DVD works for me. I was expecting to finally evade the PBS police of the Barnes and Noble as I exited before multiple interns dressed as original IPs urged me to turn on cookies for their website. What? I ran out ignoring each of them and returned back to my apartment. That was my personal privacy. Here, I grabbed the Daniel Tiger DVD out of my pocket and popped it into the player. I needed proof that watching it, that there was nothing off about it. You know, as my mom always told me, don't trust what strangers hand to you, especially if it's a white, powdery substance. Now, admittedly, she was being a little bit facetious, but you understand the general truth behind that. I should have listened before I suffered my first Halloween candy overdose at the age of 9. Anyway, I leisured back on the couch to tune into what I thought was going to be a treat. Oh, and a gift to my little sis. For something immediately appeared off. It showed the usual Daniel Tiger intro, sure, but not even close to the proper original. The normal intro tune was replaced with a trap beat along with autotune vocals as everything appeared both more detailed, less colorful, and overall more grimy and dirty looking. Were they trying to appeal to a more mature audience? And if so, why? Daniel's house wasn't a hut anymore. It was a single story, dilapidated looking building. The castle the royal family lived at was now just winding Section 8 apartments. The overall area wasn't even tropical, rather a cramped, extremely realistic looking inner city neighborhood. Okay. Well, it faded into the episode with blood red text saying Chicago. This alarmed me immediately as my eczema began flaring up. I began scratching my dry, flaky skin as it began peeling painfully, and the episode continued on. It's not like it knew my personal problems. It faded into some alley as Daniel could be seen wearing all black, smoking backwoods. Oh, hi, neighbor. I think you noticed shit don't change around here. The black's been hot as of late. He took another quick puff of the cigar before digging in his drawers and coming on screen holding a Switch. And no, I don't mean a Nintendo. You see, in these parts, a young neighbor had to blick up. He brandished the fully loaded blick with extended magazines to the viewer and demonstrated how to attach a switch to a fucking Glock. And you see, kids, just attach this to the back, just like this. It'll make it fully automatically, just like a first-person shooter. But always remember, if you would, let's say, openly post this to some social media page shit, I'd get you a minimum of 10 years, y'all. And this shit had more power than your house. So be careful, dog, you hear? Daniel said, cocking the stick chambered in 9 millimeters before continuing. Wow. Hey, why don't I run you through the block real quick? Show what a young cub been through for real. He took a final puff of the cigar before walking up to the once trolley, now public bus. So he took a ride to his house. The scene then faded to show the premises of the house, which was more like the trap. The sound of reverberated trap beats from Bluetooth speakers echoed throughout the house as the place looked completely tarnished. Ugh. I felt heavily disturbed. This wasn't like Daniel Tiger at all. My eczema once again triggered as both my hands turned rash red when Daniel walked up to his kitchen counter with a laptop and multiple blank debit cards before Daniel began talking once again. Say, young neighbors, do you think there's a way to use blank debit cards with magnetic strips and chips and a USB card writer to possibly create my own mark of the beast? I mean, original working debit cards using some open source financial tool. It lets me deposit cash somehow to make my own working data money for a card without having to use a bank and make a copy. Of course there is. Daniel then began demonstrating a child audience how to generate and defraud debit cards. Suddenly, the owl came on screen looking more like a baked potato, as his fur was replaced with scorched black scales and bloodshot eyes. He was holding a joint. Hoo, 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 and always remember to evade state lines, he said, taking a big puff out of the joint. Oh, by this point, I had already scratched out all my nerve endings as I was now unable to move both hands to grab the remote. So, I did the only thing I could do in such a situation. Lay back and continue watching the episode, naturally. Suddenly, Prince Wednesday walked in, declaring himself the King of Piggly Wiggly and reclaiming his now Section 8 throne. He was visibly pissed off. Where's my fucking vape? The King of Piggly Wiggly actually prepubescently screeched that out. Out of nowhere, Miss Alania came on screen, ratchet with an attitude, also pouncing on Daniel. Speaking of which, where's all the money you owe me? I knew I should have gave you my Chase Bank number. She scowled. The group of what was supposed to be friends broke out into a giant fight before. Oh, golly. Daniel crashed out. He upped the Drake and began bump firing at everyone. Shells flew everywhere as the semi became full auto. There was a solid 20 seconds of Daniel in the field before something unexplainable happened. The tape stopped, an obvious paused overlay over the episode, and I couldn't believe who I saw next. It was motivational speaker, comedian, actor, and former gang member Charleston White. I am speaking on behalf of PBS Studios to bring awareness to the violence throughout the inner city. These cops have accumulated a total of 87 life sentences throughout this episode. And it's such a damn shame, really. Such beautiful souls have to go through with such heinous actions due to lack of family structure and environmental factors. Charleston White stuttered cross eyed. And just always remember this, kids. There ain't nothing wrong with a little stitching. The police are your friends. Charleston continued. I've had enough of this DVD at this point. I did what I had to do. I quickly ejected it, walked outside of the driveway, and left it out on the stovetop temperature pavement in the hot South Carolinian for about 40 minutes. Melted pretty quickly. Luckily, by this time, I had once again gained control of my now lacerated flesh hooks as I logged on to Truth Social to verify if what I was watching was indeed factual. Results popped up rather quickly. Apparently, this entire ordeal was PBS's doing, in collaboration with the President Biden administration, in order to show the youth of today the harsh reality of the inner city. No copies of this episode were widespread released, and are passed out only in considerably impoverished zones. Now that I remember it, I was in the hood at the time when I got that tape at that Barnes and Noble. Rent's pretty cheap there. Well, you know what they say. You can't fool a true red, white, and blue American patriot.